Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic has officially dropped around 2 weeks ago of this video's release. It was a long anticipated prequel to literally everything in the franchise. So essentially it's a prequel. This game has some of the most important and insane characters, lore, and most importantly, secrets that we're going to be fully uncovering today. But before we dive into all of that, hello everyone, and I am Reese. In today's video, we'll be diving into all the collectibles, mail logs, audio logs, secret audio tapes, characters, and endings. No stone will be left unturned. But without further ado, let's get into it. For those of you who feel like you don't need a refresher on the Mimic and some of the building blocks that we have for this game up until this point, go ahead and skip to this timestamp on the screen right now, but I promise I'll be short and sweet. We last left off in the FNAF franchise with the two newest Steel Wool installments, Help Wanted 2 and the Security Bridge Ruin DLC. Ruin was our first introductory game to the main antagonist of Secret of the Mimic, well, being the Mimic. We find out that the Mimic has been trapped in the basement of the Pizzaplex for all of this time. We also learn that a security system, Mixus, has been keeping the Mimic at bay up until this point. Now, fast forward to Help Wanted 2, where we received an update specifically relating to FNAF Secret of the Mimic. We got revealed to the White Tiger costume and a view of the Murray costume manor, or MCM for short. We also get revealed to the fact that the Mixus system has been previously transported to the Pizzaplex from the MCM, likely along with the Mimic, by a Fazbear Entertainment vehicle. These will all be very important later, so keep a note on that. The game starts off with us playing as the main protagonist, Arnold, a Fazbear Entertainment worker who just worked a 36-hour shift and now is being told he has to work one final shift. I'm not gonna lie, poor Arnold should have quit on the spot there and just picked up a job at McDonald's or Chuck E. Cheese, because I'm sure those have like better working conditions and a comparable pay to Fazbear Entertainment. While in the van, dispatch essentially tells us that we have to go to MCM to collect the Fazbear tech that Edwin Murray had been working on for Fazbear Entertainment.
We had this contractor named Edwin Murray. He was developing some tech for us, but he's gone quiet. As per his contract, everything he's been working on for us is now legally ours, so we're sending you in to get it. Our motion sensors indicate that someone is still inside the building, moving around, although the signal's a bit erratic, but we don't expect any kind of confrontation. We'll follow up with more instructions soon. For now, just follow these directions and find your way into that building.
I hate you.
After this is all explained to us, the radio kicks on and the Secret of the Mimic logo is revealed in the front windshield. And oh my god, the soundtrack kicks on the radio as well. And the soundtrack in Secret of the Mimic is one of my favorite soundtracks from any FNAF game to date. It's pretty comparable to Security Bridge's soundtrack, which I absolutely adore. After the drive, we end up finding ourselves at the Murray costume manor. Inside of our van, we also get our first look at the data diver. It sort of looks like an older version of the Faz Wrench from the FNAF Ruin DLC, which would make a lot of sense because the Mimic and a lot of this technology is actually in both Secret of the Mimic and Ruin. The only difference is that in Ruin, everything is already accessible with the use of the Faz Wrench, but in Secret of the Mimic, you have to gain security access throughout the progression of the game. We'll dive a little deeper into that later, but essentially there are 6 easily accessible security accesses for the data diver and then 1 secret one. You instantly have the basic level once you first grab the data diver. It's like a civilian or visitor access, and then the next level is the security access, then repair, creator, admin, and finally the all-powerful executive upgrade. This one seems to be Edwin's and Edwin's only. These 6 upgrades will allow you to progress through the game and get the 2 basic endings, or better known as the clock out and unfinished business endings. The 7th security upgrade, which is the glitched permission, allows you to get the secret ending or the Storytime ending. After leaving the Fazbear vehicle, we can see various projects from Edwin and the manor, but one thing beyond the fence gates is what catches my eye the most: a little playground and a ball. Now, to the naked eye, this may seem pretty irrelevant, but I promise you it has a lot of lore and story significance that we'll touch back on later. After walking through the outdoors and the mid-construction zone, we enter the MCM through a side door and find ourselves in the welcome show. And wow, this part has a lot that we need to look into. First of all, we officially meet Mr. and Mrs. Helpful, which will be our guides throughout the game. Their significance in this game tells us a lot about why the Mimic actually chose to possess Helpy in the Ruin DLC as well. They then perform a show with the help of a bunch of Edwin's other mascot creations, such as Rocktopus, a colorful dog, a swinging bee, and a few other fun and unique characters. These aren't the important ones that I'll be pointing out though. When you turn to the right during the welcome show, you'll be able to see a mini jug band, which features an early Monty, Mr. Hippo, and Happy Frogs. I'm assuming they're a jug band strictly due to Monty Monty's backstory ride in Ruin, where it shows his history and labels one of his first bands as Monty's one-man jug band. In one of the blueprints of the jug band characters, you can also see that it is labeled as such. We also see a pig and an elephant mascot in this game, which could represent an early pig patch in Orville. We also see Sun and Moon in this segment near the end of the welcome show before it breaks down. Now, they may seem insignificant for now, but trust me, you guys will see. Eventually, the welcome show does break down, and Arnold has to leave this area through a side door to enter the lobby. We then open the security office and begin to talk to Dispatch again, and this is where Dispatch officially levels with Arnold.
I should probably level with you a little. We're still detecting movement in the building that you're in, and we have a little bit of an idea as to what it might be. Old Murray made some neat stuff over the years, and unfortunately it seems that one of his most creative inventions may have encountered some homicidal glitches in its programming.
Now, me personally, if I heard that there were homicidal glitches to an endoskeleton in a building that I was occupying, I would be out. We're tasked with turning the power back on so that we can progress, and this part is pretty tame aside from our first look at a dead employee. This is one of many that you can find throughout your Secret of the Mimic playthrough, and they are likely the previous Fazbear Entertainment employees who tried to retrieve the Mimic schematics before us. We actually know this due to a mail log found previously in the game. One states this: "I'm almost there. I can see the last permission upgrade. I'm going to get that Christmas bonus, even if it kills me." This is clearly referencing the incentivization given to Arnold from Dispatch at the beginning of the game. Later in the game as well, the Mimic threatens to shove Arnold into a suit and has a whole tangent about choosing which one.
But you're just like the others. The other technicians, the workers. They didn't listen, and it caught them all. Now it's your turn to play dress up. Another worker bee, a bumbling bee, perhaps a busy bee. In many ways, tonight has been a comedy of errors. A jester would suit you.
With those pieces of evidence, we can definitely infer that the bodies found in the costumes at the Murray Costume Manor are previous Fazbear Entertainment employees, which is such a creepy and disturbing detail, but I'm totally here for it. Once we get back to the security office from turning the power on, Dispatch tells us exactly what we're here for, which is the Mimic schematics. Now, on our way to the manager's office, the next segment of the game, we actually encountered the Mimic one-on-one for the first time in this game. He burst through a costume box in an elephant suit, and I'm not 100% sure on this guy's name, but I called him Orville throughout my entire playthrough because there's also an orange elephant suit that looks suspiciously like him. Next up, one of the most highly anticipated segments of the game starts up, our first encounter with Jackie. Now, full transparency here, I actually already played this segment of the game before the release of Secret of the Mimic because I went to PAX West and the demo for Secret of the Mimic was Jackie's introduction and chase scene. And let me just tell you guys, seeing this part of the game like fully polished and like in-game, not just in demo form, was so magical and I loved it so much. We had to wind up Jackie's box in order to grab the crank and open the door on the way to the manager's office. In the hallway after opening the gate, we see 6 posters scattered throughout as well. There's a Jackie poster, Fredbear's Family Diner poster with Spring Bonnie on it, a Be Yourself poster, a Sharpay Salon poster, which, by the way, Sharpay is probably my favorite character in Secret of the Mimic. She's just the cutest thing ever. I mean, look at her. A Blink Elephant poster, and then finally a Rocktopus poster. Next, we enter a side office with the Digityper or Mailbot. Now, he's the cutest thing ever, but don't get too attached because mere seconds later, Jackie breaks in and murders him. Gone too soon, Digityper. Jackie throws his body through the wall and then a chase scene ensues in the crawl space of the factory. Now, I have a few quick notes on this chase scene because I've seen a lot of criticism for Secret of the Mimic online, but especially with the chase scenes. Many people's complaints are that the chase scenes are too similar to Poppy Playtime and feel like a watered down copy. But in all honesty, I don't completely see it. Yes, it is a chase scene in a free roam mascot horror game, but what else makes it the same? I think the chases in Secret of the Mimic are the best we've seen in any FNAF game to date and an insane upgrade from anything we've seen previously in Security Reach or Ruin. They feel tense, give me an adrenaline rush, and you never see what's coming next. Now, am I glazing the chases in this game? Maybe, but honestly, I don't care. I think it's deserved. There's also a segment in Jackie's chase that I wanted to quickly highlight because I think it's so fun. If you stand there long enough after slamming the door on Jackie's head near the end of the chase, she'll actually actually slowly progress and climb out from underneath the door. A lot of you guys probably missed this detail in your first playthrough. This chase ends after we crawl through a vent and fall through it back into the security office. Now, I also just wanted to point this out, because apparently there's been a lot of discourse, especially on Twitter, about the fact that people don't think the Mimic possesses Jackie here or uses her as a suit, and that is completely false. We literally see in her jump scare, if you get killed by Jackie in this game, the Mimic's eyes through her eyes. Like, this is the Mimic, guys. Let's get that straight. While back in the security office, Dispatch contacts us again, but this time something's completely different. Now, this static represents the Mimic taking over Dispatch, as they are now the ones communicating with us. Now, how do I know this is the exact moment? It could just be a coincidence, right? Well, wrong. We hear the exact same static in one of the endings of the game when Dispatch reconnects and starts speaking with us again, explaining that they haven't been able to reach us all night. So from now on, we have to take Dispatch's words in an entirely different context. The Dispatch Mimic starts speaking with us again and gives us more information on the Mimic, or, well, himself, I guess? I don't know why he's airing out all his secrets to us, but oh well. After this, we leave the security office and head for the showrooms, which are located behind the welcome show curtains. The only issue is that the elevator is currently broken down and we'll have to perform an elevator repair to fix it. This is also where we see our first helper bot in the game. It'll give you different voice lines depending on which security level you input into it. Once the executive access is equipped, the player gets to hear some secret voice lines from either Edwin Murray or Fiona, Edwin's wife. This message specifically is from Edwin about the elevators constantly breaking down, which doesn't hold much story significance. After repairing the elevator by taking the elephant head out and stabilizing it, we're finally able to enter the showrooms. When entering this lobby, you will actually notice that there are 3 separate showrooms. One for Jackie, one for Big Top, and one mystery room, which most players miss on their first playthroughs. There's also another helper bot with a secret voice line, this one being Edwin's marriage proposal to Fiona. We can also enter a side security office and find the first of our 22 audio logs throughout the game. Enough of the showroom lobby though, let's get into the actual showrooms. Once you enter Big Top's showroom, you have to turn on the power and grab a ticket from Mr. Helpful. After doing this, you hand the ticket to Big Top and then get introduced to his entire segment, which is centered around carnival games. Although they seem like harmless fun at first, you can actually find an entire secret segment of the game by completing one of the mini games. By beating the Clown Teeth mini game, you can crawl behind said game and then enter the mystery showroom that previously seemed to be unattainable. This is Sleepy Moon's Storytime showroom, and weirdly enough, Moon seems to be completely absent from this segment of the game, but don't worry, that'll be extremely important later. After collecting 2 gifts, you'll be able to leave Moon's showroom and progress normally back to Big Top's. To beat Big Top's segment of the game, you'll have to get a grand prize on the prize wheel. The only catch, you'll only get the grand prize on the prize wheel on your 4th spin. So you have to actually complete all of Big Top's carnival games in order to get that amount. We can also find a Mystic Hippo poster here, which is a cool nod to Help Wanted 2. Once completed, the player leaves the showroom expecting to have beaten Big Top. Little to our knowledge though, once we gain rooftop access, Big Top surprises us there and starts yet another iconic chase scene. Now let me just say, the environment on the outside of the MCM and on the rooftop is genuinely so cool. We've never been able to experience the outdoors in a free roam FNAF game before, and I absolutely love it. For this chase, I also have the same thoughts as I did for Jackie's. It's incredibly stressful and exhilarating. Eventually though, we do escape Big Top and go back to the main lobby, and Dispatch comes back on. Then we get the funniest line ever from Dispatch in this game.
No. I almost died again. You need to send help. Get me out of here now.
Amazing. We'll look into it.
Next, we're told to head to the workshop and the demonstration theater. Now, the workshop is probably one of the coolest and most insane segments in Secret of the Mimic, because we're actually shown how these Springlock suits are assembled and we put one on. In the Springlock assembly workshop, we also get a ton of lore hints, including a secret message from Fiona and the Mrs. Helpful bot, a text log about the Springlocks, and an audio log. Let's start off first with the secret message from Fiona. This message entails Fiona reaching out to Edwin about these Springlock suits.
I'm worried about the new suit design. One of my costumers, Vic, nearly lost his hand today. All he did was spill a can of pop and the thing snapped shut like a bear trap.
This shows just how finicky the Springlock suits were even pre-Fazbear Entertainment. Now, does this mean that Edwin Murray is technically responsible for the deaths of the crying child and technically William Afton, even though he isn't actually dead, but that's a whole nother story? I would say so. And speaking of which, we actually get a text log about that as well. Edwin states that the Springlock suits for Fazbear Entertainment are still functioning well even due to the water damages, and that he still needs to warn Henry about their other odd behaviors. If this isn't straight up neglectful, then I don't know what is. Sending water damaged Springlock suits to Fazbear Entertainment, like, Hello? But rest in peace, crying child. Your death was not deserved. But, William Afton though, this is karma for what you did to Edwin later in the game. There's one final secret in the workshop segment of the game, but it's actually not related to the springlock suits and rather the Mimic himself. Now, before we get into this though, let's talk about the Murray family dynamic. First, we have Edwin, the struggling business owner who's forced to take over the company after his father's passing. He married Fiona, who he met while working at the MCM, and they later ended up having their own child together, David. Now, in this audio tape, Edwin actually introduces his child, David, to M1.
David, I want to introduce you to someone. This is M1.
Why does it look like that?
Look like what?
It's scary.
Oh, it's an endoskeleton. It won't always look like this. It'll wear fun costumes.
Like what?
Anything you want. It can fit into any costume we've created. Think of it as your new babysitter. But it doesn't get paid and go home. It'll stay with us and help around the house.
Now, why would Edwin need a full-time babysitter robot if he has Fiona to look after his kid? Well, funny story actually. We find out through 2 separate audio recordings that Fiona ended up going to Fall Fest last minute because she had a bad feeling and needed to be there. While she was there was a fire and she sadly passed away. I guess that actually wasn't that funny of a story. No. That's my bad. Anyways, in the backstage segment, after constructing our own springlock suit, we find another audio log with Edwin's reaction to this information.
Why did you go? You weren't even supposed to be there. You were supposed to be here with me and David. Oh, how am I supposed to tell David that his mother is gone? How am I supposed to raise a kid on my own? His life is ruined. My life is ruined.
This is why he originally created the Mimic, or M1. There's also an audio log towards the end of the game which shows Edwin first discovering the ability to make M1 as he hears Fiona underground.
Recording? Test. Levels are good. This is where I heard it. It's her or someone that sounds like her. Set frequency to 4625. Hello? Hello? Is anyone there? Over. Say something. It's me, Edwin. Over.
Edwin realizes that he can use this and the existing technology in the MCM to bring Fiona back in a different kind of way. Enough of the Mimic for now, but I promise we'll dive deeper the further we get into the game. Now, our next segment of the game is by far the cutest part of the game, and it is the puppet show. Using the Captain Springlock suit that we constructed earlier in the workshop, we have to progress through the puppet show by shooting the correct targets and keeping the audience happy. We also get our first looks at the pirate crew, which includes Kit, Roxy, Foxy, and Boston. Like, are you kidding me? We get Foxy and Roxy in a prequel? Also, Kit is the cutest little thing in the entire world. He's just a little baby Foxy, oh my god. Now, although I loved this puppet show segment of the game, some people really struggled on it, including one of my friends, Joni, who spent 2 hours on this silly little puppet show that I didn't even know you could die in my first playthrough.
In Foxy's shooting game, do not get me started with the puppets. They were so stupid and annoying, especially you, Borson, sleep with one eye open.
I'm sorry, I just had to include that because poor Joni. Anyways, near the end of the puppet show, everything starts to go south and breaks down, and we end up in some sort of doll hospital with Dollie. Dollie was essentially made by Edwin to reuse the spare parts and clean and repair old ones. This way he could recycle his own technology. After breaking into her main office, we see that the Mimic has broken her off of her track and is adapted into her suit. The Mimic actually has heels after entering Dollie, which is a silly little detail to me as well. We enter our security office and find out that we have to collect various compacted trash throughout the doll hospital to start up the incinerator and power the exit. Once we collect and deposit 6 of these, we start the incinerator and Dollie ends up falling in. Most players probably assume that we were done with Dollie by this point, but no! This is actually the start of Dollie's official chase scene because somehow she didn't completely melt in the incinerator and is now a flaming ball of fire sprinting after us. I love this chase scene so much as well, and the VFX effects in this chase specifically really sold it for me. Also, quick shout out to Brian, the lead VFX artist at Steelwell Studios. He really cooked here in this specific chase scene, as well as actually all of the other chase scenes in the game, and I love to see it. After running from Dollie for a bit, we end up escaping to an elevator where she finds us again, and actually now she's climbing on top of the elevator, and we have to reroute the elevator to go upwards extremely fast and smash her into the ceiling. But before that, Fiona actually fat shames us through an audio tape, which is quite outrageous.
Hey, Ryder. There's too much weight in the elevator. I'm not here to shame, just trying to help you fix the lift.
Before Dollie gets smashed into the ceiling though, we can actually see the Mimic exiting Dollie and crawling away. I think this is also our first official look at the Mimic in the game, and he's such a cool little guy. Next up, we enter the warehouse in the game and get our first look at Retro Chica. She looks so freaking cute and whimsical here, I love her so much. The music in this segment is also super amazing and fitting for her older design. We also get revealed to Chica's party world here, where Chica is the main star and has a ton of sidekicks, not just the cupcake. The cast actually features a shake, a fried chicken box, which I know is ironic, and a burger as well. Back to Chica's segment though, we had to collect various power hexagons in order to leave the warehouse and get closer to the executive office. After beating this puzzle though, you can actually find another look at Roxy in a cardboard cutout, which is super cool to see. She looks a lot closer to her security breach design here, even featuring her iconic green hairpiece. Finally, here we are, face to face with the executive office after narrowly avoiding Chica and the abundance of cupcakes near the cubicles in here. This part of the game has an insane abundance of lore, and I cannot wait to dive into it. There are multiple audio logs, mail logs, and even a secret executive access message from Edwin. Let's start from the top here though. We've been slowly piecing together throughout the playthrough that the MCM has been taking a downwards dive for the worse. In Edwin's secret message, we get revealed to this information.
I feel stupid recording this, but I just hope somehow that you can still hear me. I can't do this alone. The change orders are killing me. Our employees, my friends, they keep leaving. The money's gone. I just need to finish the new Fazbear project, and then everyone will come back. We can get back to normal.
Essentially, he's aware that his company has been going to but he's hoping that this Fazbear project will bring him back to MCM's previous glory, and that his employees that have left will return. But little does he know, that's actually not the case, and Fazbear Entertainment has been playing him this entire time. We get a mail log in the executive office that states this. We are almost there. I need the rest of the Murray staff contact info. The sooner, the better. If you can get that for me, I can sweeten the deal. How would you like to manage one of the new franchise locations? Signed, W.A. Now, obviously, this is William Afton himself. William Afton, over time, has been collecting the staff information from MCM and offering them positions at Fazbear Entertainment for a better pay. We also find another message related to that states this. Ken, after one interview, they offered me the job. It happened so quick. No questions about my work or skills, they just asked one question. When can you start? I'm going to make double what I make here. You should come with me. There's a referral bonus if we can get more Murray employees to jump ship. Oh my god, William Afton and Henry Emily are pure evil, I can't lie. Especially William Afton though, because, you know, child murderer. So while he and Henry have been distracting Edwin with their huge commission, they've also been burning MCM to the ground from the inside out by stealing their employees and wasting their time. I do want to mention though, and this may seem kind of obscure at first, but one of the employees at MCM is named Ralph, which does that seem familiar? Well, actually, Ralph is Phone Guy's name from FNAF 1, as we learned in the Week Before interactive novel. So, could Ralph, aka the Phone Guy, have previously worked at MCM and then jumped ship for Fazbear Entertainment later on? I think it's a possible theory. Does all this employee robbery seem bad enough though? Well, actually, it gets worse. Due to Edwin's buzzing mind and creative ideas, he wasn't really able to focus on one product too hard at a time, so it led to the MCM releasing a lot of half-baked products, which led the company to bankruptcy and a lot of lawsuits. Let me read one of the mail logs for you. Dear Mr. Murray, the returns are overflowing. These orders are drying up. Please advise. I'll read some of these horrid reviews for you all now. Buckle in. Dear Mr. Murray, we bought your magic coat rack last May. It was an amazing addition to our home, but lately it seems to change size at random. One morning, I come to find all of my coats flung across the room and the coat rack is 10 feet tall. Can someone send us instructions on how to fix this? We're afraid someone might get hurt. Sincerely, B. Wyatt. Another message says, my husband is a steel worker and has recently moved up to the night shift. He tried your stay-up latte, and it worked wonders for about 2 weeks. He's now in the hospital because of your drink. You will be hearing from our lawyer soon. Signed, R. Quinn. Here's the next return message. Dear Mr. Murray and Co. My child loves your Just cereal. However, the pranks inside are extremely inappropriate. The hand buzzer paralyzed our dog, Fido. We are never buying this cereal again. The final return message that we see in the log says this. Dear Mr. Murray, I'm writing to complain about my purchase of the Mushman music machine. It learned my child's musical taste, but it also imitated everything it heard. TV commercials, blenders, and even my private conversations between my husband husband and me. I am returning it immediately. Although all of this is happening to Edwin's company, he's losing all of this money, all of his sales are drying up, and he's losing all of his employees, he still has faith that he can bring this company back with the Fazbear project. The only issue though, I believe that partway through this commission, William and Henry actually find out about the Mimic, or better known to them as M2. We find out through multiple audio tapes that there are actually traitors and leakers in the MCM, but I'll play one of the most important audio tapes for you all now.
Project update. I figured it out. There's a leak. Someone told them about M2. Well, they can't have it. Every copy has failed. I don't even know why it worked the first time. But it did. It's just not ready.
Apparently some of the MCM employees told them about M2, them most likely being William and Henry from Fazbear Entertainment. Now, before we dive deeper into Fazbear Entertainment, the Murray family, and M1 and M2, let's get to the endings. The next segment of Secret of the Mimic is probably by far the scariest one, the underground Tiger Rock tunnels. You have to traverse through a nearly pitch black tunnel system in order to survive. Now, what exactly is Tiger Rock? I don't really know. Now this is probably the Mimic possessing this costume, but he has some weird like glitchy and almost like ghost-like moments that lead a lot of people to believe that either the costume or M2 is possessed by David, which is Edwin Murray's dead child. Now, most of you probably already know about David being dead in the games, but for those of you who didn't, hi, welcome in! This is a FNAF game where of course there are dead children. We'll talk more about his passing specifically very soon though. After finishing the basement tunnels, we find ourselves back in the security office talking to Dispatch. We now have the blueprint for the Mimic schematics, so Dispatch, or as we now know as the Mimic, tells us to deposit the data diver so that we can finally leave. If you decide to turn the data diver in, Dispatch opens the garage door for you and allows you to hop in your van and drive home. Once we're on the road again, we hear a glitchy noise and Dispatch gets through to our radio again, and so it's no longer the Mimic, it's the actual Dispatch this time. They say that they've been trying to get a hold of us all night, and Arnold expresses his shock and disappointment before seeing a light in his backseat behind him, and the Mimic attacks us, steals our data diver, and the credits roll. While the credits are rolling, we actually find ourselves inside of a suit, which seems to be Freddy Fazbear, which is crazy. We also see Chica and Bonnie next to us, and then Foxy in the far right corner, which is crazy. The Mimic most likely put us in the Freddy suit after, well, killing us. This ending that I just spoke of is the bad ending, or also known as the clock out ending. Did that ending seem kind of underwhelming? Well, if so, don't worry, because the next two endings are absolutely insane and you guys are going to want to buckle up before we dive in. In order to get the true ending, or the unfinished business ending, you have to decide to not turn in the data diver and instead run the parachute.exe program on the device. It opens up a secret hatch on the floor that Arnold then enters. This is where we hear the Mimic's huge speech and monologue about how we're gonna die and how he's gonna stuff us into a suit like the other technicians. The Mimic also calls us a good dog here, and I really didn't like that. I don't like how he's calling me a good dog.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
You're an obedient dog, a good dog. I'm not a dog! We crawl through the crawl space and eventually find our escape back into the welcome showroom. We use the executive access to kickstart the goodbye show, and Mr. Helpful kicks off another song to wish us farewell. We then press a giant red button and the floor starts to fall beneath us. As we're making our downward descent, Big Top finds us again and we're forced to fix the elevator shaft as we go down. Once the elevator makes it far enough down where we can escape, we step out and explore. We find a gigantic Freddy Fazbear head. Like, this thing is humongous. We have to start a generator inside of Freddy Fazbear's head in order to open the stage curtains, where we then see a prototype Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, which is crazy. Chica's there, Freddy's there, Bonnie's there, Foxy's there, and we also get a look at 4 other Springlock suits. One of them being an early Monty, which looks similar to his cardboard cutout versions in the Welcome and Goodbye show. Another one being Bub, a Springlock suit that looks nearly identical to Sparky from the FNAF movie. Now, these other 2 suits are quite crazy to see, as they were very highly anticipated for Secret of the Mimic. We first find the prototype version of Spring Bonnie, then, a little bit later, we find the prototype version of Fredbear. These are likely the early versions of the suits before they were even sent to Fredbear's family diner. Previously in the game, we found 2 different tapes of Edwin complaining about them, likely being Henry and William. Let me play one of those for you guys now.
What the hell was that? They treat me like some contractor to crack a whip at. Oh, Fiona was right. They don't think of me as a friend anymore. This is the last project I ever do for them.
Edwin clearly saw Henry and William as more than just business partners, and actually friends as well, and I believe Henry and William actually used this to manipulate Edwin in whatever way they wanted. They actually never wanted this commission to work out, and instead wanted to use it to drive the MCM into the ground with last-minute changes and delays. While this was all happening, like I mentioned before, they were also stealing all of Edwin's employees. We know this is all true because of another audio log found in this ending part of the game.
Aren't they insane? The look of these new animatronics is Fiona's design, and they're great. Oh, first they approve the art, then they approve the proofs. Now they change their minds when we're so close to final. Why would they change them now? Are they pulling my leg? The new concepts are frankly creepy. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not changing a single bit of her work, and they can't make me.
There's also another log from Edwin talking about Henry and Emily.
I got the change order from Hen last night. None of this makes sense. I'm almost done. Why change it now? It would be so much easier to keep using the spring locks. Just hire some teens to wear the suits like we always do.
He's really just mad about these last-minute changes, like Hen requesting to remove the spring locks from the designs. I believe that these last-minute changes were actually not accidental and instead intentional to waste Edwin's time and money. Henry also likely requested the removal of the spring locks from the suits after learning about M2 or the Mimic because he wanted to be able to use it to crawl into the costumes instead of employees having to. Finally though, after wasting all of Edwin's time and money and stealing all of his employees, William Afton sent Edwin this message. Software development and the entire MCM catalog. We would love to keep you on as a lead engineer. Although we now technically own the land, we would never touch the house your parents built. We feel this offer has been more than fair considering how far behind you are. It's just too much for you to handle alone. We're waiting for your response. Signed, WA. This is only the second half of the full message, but here we're revealed to the fact that Fazbear Entertainment wants to buy out all of the rights and designs from the MCM. To William Afton's shock though, Edwin never ends up responding. Why though? Well, we're gonna have to dig a little bit deeper into this ending before I can explain all of that. In order to defeat the Mimic in this segment of the game, you have to enter the springlock suits and put them directly in front of the security cameras in order to drain the office's power. Once the power is drained, you're able to enter the security office and find something truly puzzling. This seems to be the Mix's spot from the basement in ruin, but it's now being called F10 and 4 or Fiona. This, my friends, is M1, or I guess the original Mimic. Let's dig into the full story of the Mimic, including both M1 and M2. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, M1 or Fiona was originally created after Fiona passed away to be a replacement for her. Edwin was worried he wouldn't be able to raise a kid on his own, so he had her do it for him. M1 adapted to not only Fiona's voice though, but also her mannerisms and personality. Eventually, M1 even convinced itself that it was the real Fiona. Poor David probably had a very confusing childhood with a robot mother. Fast forward a little bit, and it's now David's 3rd birthday, and Edwin gifts David a playset outside of the MCM for him to play on, against the advice of his lawyer, which we see a tape about.
Look, I get your concerns, I do, but they're all just groundless. This is the perfect spot for David's playground. I can watch him play while I'm loading and unloading freight, and he'll be under watch at all times. The loading dock is like 200 feet away, and there's a fence and everything. I know you're my lawyer and all, but there's no regulation that says I can't have it there, so just get off my back. Besides, David loves the new slide. It'll be fine.
Edwin leaves David unattended on the playground where he ends up rolling his ball onto the road and getting struck by a car and tragically dies. Now Edwin's spiraling. His wife Fiona is dead, his child David is dead, and his business is dying as well. At least he still has M1 or the fake Fiona though. But this fake Fiona ends up trying to convince Edwin to create an M2 or second Mimic to mimic his dead child so that the family could be full again.
Edwin, it doesn't make sense. It's terrible, and there's no logic behind it. It happened, and you have to deal with it. You did it before. We can fix things together. I am here to help.
He tries to make an M2 multiple times, but just can't get it right. Now, some people are actually theorizing that the M1 only worked so well because it is at least partially possessed by the actual Fiona. I'm not entirely sure on that, but I think it's definitely a cool theory and something to consider. Eventually, Edwin gets fed up with M1, repeatedly asking him to create an M2 over and over again, and he says this.
For the last time, no, it wouldn't be him. Oh, who am I kidding? You're not really you. So stupid.
Edwin, calm down and give it some thought. Try again. Make another, and we can all be together.
All this time wasted? I should have been having fun with him, playing games and teaching him how to make things. But I didn't. You. I let a machine raise my kid. You're not real. What was I thinking?
You do not mean that. It is me. I'm Fiona.
Stop talking like her. You're not her. I never want to hear or even think about you ever again. Ever!
Now after this, I'm really speculating here, but I do believe this to be at least partially correct. Edwin will eventually give in and agree to make an M2 after M1 offers up her endoskeleton to be able to put M2's software into, and then M1 gets moved into the F10N4 bot or the Fiona bot. So there are two Mimic softwares, but only one actual endoskeleton. At some point though, likely in a fit of rage, Edwin ends up trying to destroy M2's legs to try and remove all of his past mistakes and move on. This goes horribly wrong though, as we later find out in an audio log.
Test. Journal entry. Too bad the new power test was a failure. Due to a minor detonation, there is damage to my office interior, as well as a small fire. Note to self, portable cleaner that gets rid of smoke damage. Or better yet, a Cleanovac attachment.
Help! M2! Respond! Emergency! Call for help!
Daddy's busy, buddy. Why don't you go outside and play?
Please! I can't move. I can't feel my legs.
You know, speaking of legs, what do you think? I just finished mine. There are still a few kinks to work out.
I'm sorry, M2. I lost my temper. I was always gonna fix you. Please, call for help. M2, respond.
Oh, can't right now, buddy. We can do something fun tomorrow. I promise. Ask your mom if she's not busy.
M2, help.
M2 is found in this tape mimicking Edwin's voice, personalities, and mannerisms. Since Edwin wasn't properly able to recreate David as M2, M2 instead starts to treat Edwin as if he's David. Edwin gets trapped under some rubble after an explosion and fire caused by M2, and Edwin begs M2 to save him, but he doesn't. This is actually why Edwin was never able to respond to William. He was dead. This is also actually why Arnold and the other previous Fazbear Entertainment employees were being sent to the MCM, because they lost contact with Edwin and didn't know how else to retrieve their technology. I hope that all makes at least a little bit of sense. I know it's a lot, but I wanted to try and clarify the differences between M1, M2, and like the Murray family's involvement. Back to the true ending though. Fiona tells us that we need to get back into the Murray house and that she needs us to send a message to Edwin that he needs to fix M2. So because of this voice line, I'm assuming that M1 actually doesn't know the tragic fate of Edwin and assumes that Edwin just abandoned it rather than actually being dead, because only M2 knows that he's dead, because yeah. We take a tunnel and a quick car ride to the Murray house and discover various tapes from each of David's birthdays. Playing all of these tapes gives us a code that we can use to enter a secret door upstairs in the house. Behind the door seems to be Edwin's main office space. There's also his personal device there. On this device we can see alt Fazbear designs and puppet designs, but we aren't able to actually view them. Now this is purely speculation, but I think those alt Fazbear designs actually might be the toy animatronics. I also think that these are Fiona's like original designs for the FNAF animatronics, and then Henry ended up changing them later on to a creepier version, which is the FNAF 1 animatronics. So Fiona's designs are maybe the FNAF 2 or toy animatronics, and then the designs that Henry requested they be changed to, the creepier versions, are the FNAF 1 ones. Do I know if this is true? No, but I like the idea. After this, we enter a room next door and start the cradle.exe program to escape. As we're doing this though, M2 catches up with us and starts another chase scene. This chase scene also includes another Fazbear classic of fire. The entire MCM and house start to catch on fire as we run away. The Mimic and various trash bots chase after us. The funny thing about these bots actually is that they have a lot of resemblances to the Trash in the Gang and Paper Pals, which is so fun to see. Eventually we're able to escape the burning building and hop back into our van. The trash bots and the Mimic have both followed us to our vehicle though, and we end up crashing. M2 grabs our data diver from us and we likely die a slow death on the side of the road, which is really sad. Then the credits actually start to roll with a very untimely soundtrack. You're gonna have me die in a car crash and then play happy music, Steelwolf Studios? What kind of madness is this? Now that is the true ending for you guys, but don't worry, there's still one final ending, the secret ending. Now, in order to get the secret ending or the Storytime ending, there are very specific requirements that you have to hit. For starters, you have to collect all 24 collectibles and a special 25th one that you can receive after beating the game and starting a new playthrough on your original file. Now, collecting all of the gift boxes seems like a pretty easy task, right? Well, actually kind of wrong. In order to get to one of the gift boxes in particular, you have to complete a brand new boss fight below the retail showroom with executive access. I absolutely love this feature, by the way. It adds so much replayability to an 100% completion run and so many more secrets to discover. We've actually heard a lot of rumors previously in the game about something secret hiding under the retail showroom, which I'll read now. Sean, I found out why it closed down. There's something below us. I've trapped it behind the carousel for now, but I don't know how long that can hold it. I programmed the monitors to give you the code. I gotta go. I'll mail you later. This is a reference to the secret boss, which actually isn't the Mimic that's hiding below the retail showroom. Another message states this. There you have it. Just don't use the code unless it's a matter of life or death. Have mercy on our souls if that thing ever gets out. What is this terrorizing creature underneath the retail showroom though? It's actually Sleepy Moon. Now this guy is the ugliest FNAF animatronic that I have seen to date. He actually reminds me dead on of Mr. Electric from Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Like, they are actually built the exact same. Unironically, he looks like the ball guy from Shark Boy and Lava Girl. God. He looks exactly like this. We also see Moon's suit blueprints at one point and discover that he was meant to only have a human controlling him at all times, not an Endo like the Mimic. So what exactly is Moon if he's not the Mimic? I'm not entirely sure, but I do have one theory. For starters, I feel like he's definitely like possessed or haunted in some way because there's no way someone has survived under the retail room for this long. The most likely scenario is that this is just some employee that got trapped underground the retail room for too long and then ended up possessing Moon, but I have another idea. What if it's Edwin? We never actually find Edwin's body inside the game, but we do know that M2 has a weird obsession with shoving bodies inside various suits. So could this be where Edwin ended up? I have some more evidence to back up this theory as well though, don't worry. After getting all 25 collectibles by beating Moon's boss fight segment, you have to complete the moon.exe program with your data diver. In this game, you travel throughout and use your items to progress. Eventually, you'll find a cabin in the woods, which is owned by a lady named Sun. Now, first of all, Sun versus Moon, the comparisons here. Look at Moon. Now look at Sun. Miss Girl is a diva. She is slaying. She is eating. I'm sorry, I just had to point it out. I'm pretty confident that Sun is actually a representation of Fiona in the game, and that Moon is a representation of Edwin, at least in this specific game, moon.exe. If you're killed by Moon, he actually says this. Now, I'm too busy. Back to bed. As we know from various tapes and audio logs throughout the game, Edwin is not the most present father and has missed many of David's events and didn't have time for him. One of David's birthday tapes actually specifically documents him missing his own child's birthday.
Ed, get out here. You're missing it.
Just give me a minute. I had the best idea.
Okay,
This is the one. Bigger than the Cleanovac.
That's great, honey, but you're missing the party.
David's 2 years old. He won't remember a thing.
That's not the point. We have guests.
Besides, he's got plenty more birthdays. Next year will be even better.
Well, hurry up. We're doing the cake in 5 minutes, with or without you.
Yeah.
I believe that Moon says these specific voice lines because he's, again, representing Edwin. Once you use all of the items and find your way to the end of moon.exe, Sun grants you a new data diver permission, the glitched permission. She also says this. Now you will get your reward. Use this to bring him back. it's all in your hands now. Him most likely being David, or the creation slash rebooting of M2 to act like David again. Once we gain access to the glitch permissions, we actually start the true ending, but something is very different this time. Sun actually appears across all of the monitors, again symbolizing the connections between Sun and Fiona. This connection also further proves the connection between Moon and Edwin, in my opinion. Once we get back to the Murray house though, we're no longer in search of tapes, but instead bedtime stories hidden in doors locked behind the glitch permission. Once you collect all 6 and deposit them into the cassette players, a secret vent opens. This vent leads us to David's childhood room. This room actually looks very oddly familiar, very close to the crying child's room in FNAF 4. So, pause on this. Not only did William Afton steal Edwin's entire business, employees, everything, but also his child's room for his own child? Like, are we serious right now? The room has some of the same exact toys, an identical closet, and even a similar FNAF 4 box in this room. Mind you, another unopenable box. Scott, you have to stop this. Anyways, if we bring David's white tiger plush into this room and place it on top of the pedestal, the Mimic, or M2, enters the room through the closet. We can see the Mimic changing from Fiona and Edwin to David, and even seeing him shrinking in size to represent David, which is cool. You have to complete the correct code using the animal tapestries on the right of the pedestal. If you enter the 4 buttons in the correct order, the story will end, and M2 will open a hatch and allow us to reboot him, turning him back into David like he was initially intended to be. He's honestly so adorable in his little David form. I love him so much. After David goes to bed though, the credits roll. So, what does this all mean? Let's reflect on what all we've learned from this game. First of all, Henry and William are evil masterminds, even more evil than we initially assumed in the previous games. We learned that Edwin was commissioned to create the FNAF 1, potentially FNAF 2, and the Springlock animatronics by Fazbear Entertainment. We also learned the identities of M1 and M2, and I believe we learned the canon ending, which is the true ending or second ending in the game. I believe this to be correct because the Mimic, or M2, is very against us rebooting him. In the secret ending, the Mimic actually gets rebooted, so that's clearly not the correct ending since he's still violent in the Ruin DLC and hasn't been rebooted. The first, or bad ending, could be true as well, but I highly doubt it because we wouldn't have interacted with M1 or F10 and 4 in it. We also sort of learned the origins of the Faz wrench, which is used in the FNAF Ruin DLC. What does this all mean for the future of FNAF though? Well, as seen in the secret ending, there is a way to neutralize M2, so Cassie could survive if she figures out a way to reboot M2. Speaking of that though, I believe that the next game in the FNAF franchise will either be a Security Breach 2 or sequel to the Ruin DLC, or we will get a Fall Fest DLC out of Secret of the Mimic, and I would be super happy with either of these options or whatever else Steel Will has to cook up. But anyways, that is it. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is my biggest video to date, and I'm so happy to be able to get something this big out for you guys to watch. If you guys haven't already subscribed, I'd really appreciate you guys doing so. Let me know your thoughts on my interpretation of Secret of the Mimic and what things you guys thought while playing it as well in your own theory. Also, quick shout out to my channel members. I love you guys so much, and without further ado, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye! If you guys are itching to watch another video of mine as well, I'd recommend my PAX West vlog where you can see some behind the scenes of the Secret of the Mimic demo. Bye-bye, guys!